Hey, everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerosity. And boy, do I have a fun interview for you to enjoy. There's a new, I'll call it a super group. They wouldn't call themselves this, but I'll call them a super group called Texas Scratch. And it's made up of Jim Suhler, who plays with George Thorogood. How's that for some pedigree? As well as Bud Whittington, who played with John Mayall for, 15 years or so. So there's another good pedigree. And these guys have put together a Texas blues band called Texas Scratch, and it is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. You already know how we love the blues here at Boomerosity. So this album here is definitely a must-have. You're going to love the style. If you like people like ZZ Top and Johnny Winter and the Vaughn Brothers and on and on and on, you're definitely going to love this album. It's not a knockoff album, so don't look at it as somebody trying to copy and sound like somebody else, because they bring their own unique sound to this, but yet it's very distinctive Texas blues. You're absolutely going to love it. If you love blues, you're going to love it. Guarantee it. So without any further ado, here's my interview with John Suhler, Bud Whittington of Texas Scratch. And please, if you would, tell others about this interview, share it with them. And I ask you, as always, to please subscribe. We really need your subscription to help us to survive. So thank you in advance for doing it. Take care. Well, hey, guys, thanks a million for joining me. I'm so appreciative of John Lappin putting us together. I love Texas rock. I love blues. And when I heard your album and John said, hey, are you interested? I said, heck yeah. So I appreciate so much you guys being willing to chat with me and help me.
Yeah, we're happy to be here with you.
Good deal. So before we get into the album, I'm just curious. I know you guys are very active musicians and such, and I know the pandemic affected everybody, in mostly negative, but a lot of people took the time to create and that kind of thing. How's the post-pandemic world looking for you guys? Are you seeing it as getting back to normal, or is there a new normal for you? Or what are you guys seeing out there?
Just when you think it's getting normal, the venues start closing down. You know what I mean? We have gigs, or I have gigs here and there. They're not as many as I used to have, but they're coming back. But me and Jim were just talking earlier about there's been like 3 venues in Dallas Fort Worth closed this week.
Really? Like who?
Lola's is gone, and there's a place called what Twilight is another one. And then
Some place, and there was a couple of places over here have closed, but not in the last week. But it seems like it's kind of the sky is falling situation. Not to minimize it, but it's like you read all this stuff about it on social media from our local fan base and fellow musicians, and it's almost like somebody has died. There's that feeling as if just sort of a helplessness, like watching a train run into a brick wall or something. Like you want to do something, but you can't.
Yeah.
But that's the new normal.
Why are they saying they're closing? What's the typical excuse given?
I haven't really heard any, but I'm sure it's just, it's all back to the money. I'm sure there just probably aren't enough, as they say in England, there aren't enough punters in the seats.
Yeah, well, gosh, too, I know getting
and the age group, I think, has a little to do with it. We had a festival, where Bedford is, right over here.
Yeah.
Next to me. The Bedford Blues Festival is a festival that I played on every year for 10 or 12 years. And now they're saying, well, our blues audience has moved on, and now we have a red dirt young audience, and they've spent ridiculous money on the old Bedford Boys Ranch to make it into a real nice new park. And they're having this festival, but it's like a red dirt thing. There's no blues guys, which is just, I suppose it's the normal attrition,
Yeah.
But that's another thing that we have to contend with.
Are you guys do you guys hook up at all with Jimmy Wallace and his guitar festival there?
Yeah. I went play the guitar festival, and as a matter of fact, I played a little with Jimmy for a memorial for a friend of ours, a sound guy that passed on Sunday. I just saw Jimmy.
Well, buddy, let me, as a sidebar here, excuse me, Randy, but it was Larry Osier related to Gary Osier?
Yeah, brothers.
Okay, well, that figures. I thought that was probably it. But back to your question, Randy, Yeah, we talked to Jimmy. In fact, he asked me if we could do Texas Scratch at the guitar show. Bud, you don't even know this. And I said, well, I'd love to, but I'm going to be out with George Thorogood. It always seems to fall that way for me. That
52 Saturdays in a year, and everybody wants to get in on the same day.
yeah, right.
I haven't been to the festival probably in about 10 years. I loved going there. I'd always cover it. I'd always interview guys there. And, but, it's always fun to see who you bump into. And of course,
Yeah.
My good friends, Andy Timmons and Quentin Hope and, all those people. I just love those guys there and always enjoy catching their gigs when I can, but it's been way too long. I need to try to make it out there next year for the show and catch up with some friends there. But
well, it's a great thing that's the main reason that I go, because I'm sure not going over there to buy guitars.
What, you don't need more guitars? Come
No,
on.
well,
How many do you have?
oh, not many. I don't have two. I might have 10 guitars, and I'm trying to learn how to play them all.
How about you, Jim?
Oh, I don't know, maybe like 25. But there's only a few that I play, and I'm not a collector or anything. I mean, I have some nice guitars, I guess, but if I buy them, they're like, it's just it's a tool in the toolbox,
Yeah.
You're not doing the Joe Bonamassa thing, huh?
Well, I couldn't afford to if I wanted to. I mean,
I hear you.
it costs 6 figures. I don't have that kind of budget, with all due respect to Joe.
Yeah. Well, talking about the guitar show, I remember you guys might have been there a few years ago. They had all the display of Clapton's guitars there that was sold at auction, like Blackie and some of the others. And seeing the prices that they fetched at the auction to help the Crossroads, treatment center there in Antigua, that was, I was just stunned to stand that close to history and seeing the price tags. And that was, 11, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, all fun stuff. And, but we're here to talk about this great album.
I just want to go on record to say they can have any of my guitars for 1/10 of those prices.
So you can go out and buy more, right?
Yeah.
So love the album. Tell me about it. When I first saw it, when John sent me the stuff on the Texas Scratch, what is this, a lotto ticket? But I know it's a style of playing, but tell me about Texas Scratch and this new album. I love, love, love every tune on it.
Well, first of all, a style of playing that's in the bio that was sent out to media that says the band got its name from Carter's Scratch, which was Mother Maybelle Carter's mountain music is completely inaccurate. I'm not sure where any of that came from. And we love the Carter family. That's not it, but that's not an influence at all musically. I think that was just something they thought would be cute to put in there. But it was just a name that was concocted by one of the people that brought us all together. So from that day forth, we were Texas Scratch, and we were like, well, okay,
Well, I like it. I like it. I love the cover too, man. It's just pure Texan through and through, But how long did it take you guys to put it together?
We recorded the whole thing in 4 or 5 days. I mean, once we finally, like I said earlier, Jim and I we left Dallas one evening and got up to Dover, New Jersey. I think we spent the night in Knoxville or something.
My
and the next day
backyard.
drove the rest of the way in and started recording the next day. And I believe it was done. And I mean, the actual tracks were done in 4 or 5 days.
Wow. Yeah. There may have been some overdone. I know we overdone some keyboards once I got back to Dallas. But like 95% of it was done at Showplace Studios in New Jersey, which is where you would go if you're a Texas guitar player to make a Texas record. Is New Jersey.
I can see that. That's like far northeast Texas, right?
Yeah, far.
So what about the songs? Were they something you guys have just accumulated over the years, or did you kind of, workshop it together over a couple of weeks, or how did that all come about?
I had one called Texas Trios that I pretty much, like I say, it's 14 years ago and I've slept since then, but I think I remember writing that song for the project. And, you know, I had that, and there's a couple of others that I had that when the album got shelved, I wound up using those songs on an album that came out under my name called Six Strings Bengali. And because I thought, well, this album's not going to happen, you know, and then all of a sudden it started happening. So there you have it.
I see. I see. What how has this album been different for you guys to put together compared to all the other records you guys have worked on in your careers?
Well, I mean, every project's different. I mean, there were more people involved. There were, you know, all these factions from different sides and different inputs. That was different. Everything was, you know, I think we all came in with our own songs and learned them basically on the spot, worked on the arrangements, and then recorded them. So there wasn't any pre-production in the sense that Buddy and Vince and I got together and woodshedded this stuff. So I think, you know, that might have been different.
Were there any surprises putting this thing together?
I mean, not musically or necessarily, you know, the recording wise. I think because we were all seasoned, we'd all done lots of recording. So, I mean, everybody kind of knows how to act and how to proceed when we're in there. I think the biggest surprise was the fact that Showplace Studios doubled as a strip club.
It had a door from the studio right into the strip club. And there's a poster on the wall of the Showplace Studios that Leslie West had signed on the poster. Showplace Studios, worst looking girls, best sounding tracks.
That sounds like Leslie West.
It
One
wasn't
of
a
my
lot.
first interviews.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Interesting guy, great play. He said he did it all with two fingers. And he said that everybody was always asking why he wanted to play a Les Paul Jr. He said, because I could get one in any pawn shop for $75.
I remember asking him after he lost his leg. I'd interviewed him once before, like just before he got married at the Woodstock anniversary thing. This was, I don't know, 2009. And that's when I first interviewed him. And then, you know, a couple of years later, you know, he lost his leg and all that. And so I mentioned to him, and because I'd already been told he was okay to talk about it. And I said, since I talked to you last, Leslie, but you know, you lost the leg. And I was getting ready to ask the question. He interviewed me or interrupted me and said, yeah, have you seen it? I'd like to have it back. You know?
I love it.
Yeah, but he knew how to laugh on it. That's for sure. He sure missed too. What, as far as the songs, again, I can't pick a favorite, and I know not to ask artists to pick favorites, but do each of you have a particular song that you point to as kind of like a calling card saying, hey, if you like this song, you're really going to dig the rest of the record?
I mean, excuse me, Buddy, but I think Texas Trios is the song. It's sort of a declarative mission statement about, you know, what we're about. And I think that one song kind of embodies the spirit of it. It's a great
How
song.
you can get it done. You can get it done. Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. It's how you can get it done with just the bare essentials of guitar, bass, and drums, and somebody just sing it. Let's get on down the road, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love how fresh it is. I mean, I detect certain influences, and I don't know if the influences are so much bands or just what's in the Texas water. I mean, clearly there's, I hear some ZZ Top. I hear some, Johnny Winter type of stuff, and maybe a Stevie Ray Vaughan lick or two, which, by the way, I was at his funeral. That's when I first saw ZZ Top, was at Stevie's
I
funeral.
remember I watched it on TV. It was so hot that day.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
I was gonna go, and I had a date out of town somewhere. So, it was the middle of August in Texas. Yeah. It was a horrible, horrible time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was hot from what I remember.
Yeah. I walked up to it. I know we're kind of chasing rabbits here, but walked up to it just as Stevie Wonder, Bonnie Raitt, and Jackson Browne were singing Amazing Grace a cappella.
I remember seeing that on TV.
Yep. That was just flipping amazing. So What is it about Texas music? What is it about Texas that affects music the way it does, and what do you think is its biggest influences that give it its unique sound? Texas blues is different from Chicago and, all that. What is it about from your perspective that you feel is its key ingredients, its key influences there?
Well, it could be that there's a little bit of a country influence. Check the Allman Brothers using twin guitars that came from Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys, and guys that had country guys playing jazz. Of course, we're not playing jazz. I know for a fact that I'm not playing any jazz, but yeah, but we can only be a product of our influences, and that's kind of what you got.
Yep. Well, and hearing that from you, knowing that your background with John Mayall, which, it broke my heart that he was quit the road, but I certainly understand why. It was a fun interview too.
Yeah, he just turned 90 years old 2
Yeah,
days ago.
man, that was amazing. So from your perspective, Bud, and I'll get to you on this too, Jim, but you've played with John and you've got this Texas blues thing going here. What, how does that all come together for you? Do you feel like that creates a unique sound for you personally and for this project in general?
Well, I mean, I just tried to play my normal things that I normally do with insight within the confines of that band. He would generally give you enough rope to let you hang yourself. You know what I mean? He lets you play, and sometimes in the studio he would be out down the hall typing something up or something like that, not even in there listening to us, but he'd be listening from down the hall, and then if he heard something he didn't like, he'd come back and stick his head in the control room and go another way, fellas, change that and take it somewhere else, And other than that, he kind of gave us free rein to do what we needed to.
Now, how about with you, Jim? As far as you're with George Thorogood and all that. How has that music influenced how you played on this record and wrote for this record?
Well, I think just in the sense that everything that I have ever heard that I liked influences me. I had songs that I had written in the style of George Thorogood that I recorded on my first album that I'd written before I'd even met him. So that stuff was already in place. I didn't have any conscious decision I'm from this, so I need to sound like this. I think we're just going, playing our songs and, trying to find our own voice as we do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that stuff was our template for creatively for writing, and what we liked and what we thought was cool. And in my experience with George is a lot like buddies. I have enough rope to hang myself. George trusts my instincts, and if he doesn't like something, he'll say, "Don't do that," or "Try this." And he actually has a lot of very helpful ideas and suggestions that I'll add, like maybe a lick from a Johnny Cash song here or there, or he'll just, his mind never stops working like that. To this day. Yeah, but those were great experiences to get us ready for all this, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What's the feedback you're getting on the project, and friends, people that's got, like myself, that's got to hear it in advance and that type of thing? What are people telling you about it? How are they like it?
It's taken so many of us by surprise that it actually exists now. That a lot of a new album, and I had planned on starting recording something, and since I haven't done a solo record in quite a while, and then this came up and absolved me of having that problem. So yeah, it seems like it's going on. Seems like people like it.
What are they saying? What's the most consistent line you're hearing from people that's heard it? Is there anything in particular? Is there something they zero in on does that surprise you that they do on it?
I hear a lot of, "Hey, Bud, so are you going to be able to make your rent this month?" And
Beyond the musical questions, which is like, oh, we like this song and that's cool. When are you guys going to play here? When are you going to play there? I get asked, what does trip hammer mean?
yeah,
And my answer is like, I just like the way it sounded. And I wanted to work it into a song. I love, Bob Dylan. I love the way he writes. He writes in kind of an abstract way sometimes. And sometimes I like to take that path. So I think it's actually some type of an agricultural hammer that's used in processing food or something. I just thought I liked the way the word sounded. I've answered that question probably 10 times. You didn't ask. I'm just passing that along to you.
You got to
I'm sure from being around. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying you're just getting ahead of the question there. That's cool.
Oh, I see.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sure from being around Texas, you're familiar with John Nitzinger.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we did the Nitzinger tune on there because for one reason, I'm speaking for myself. He was a big influence. I used to see him a lot when I was a kid, and he has had some health problems and everything, and is not getting out playing anymore. So we thought, well, might not hurt to do kind of a tribute to him and his wife and everything, and maybe possibly generate a little publishing for him if we could do that, which would be great, And we recorded his Louisiana Cockfight song, which is an old favorite of mine from like 1972.
Very cool. Very cool. To me, like I told you at the beginning of the call, to get this kind of album, I'm not a native Texan. I'm living in my home area here of East Tennessee now. I'm a mile and a half up the road from Dollywood, but I lived for 20 years in Texas, and it's definitely its own country. It's definitely has its own. There's a multi-level autonomy that I feel about that state, because whether it's the music, just the state pride, the ingenuity on, in several markets, all that kind of stuff. And then of course, all the stellar names of musicians that have come from there. I take an adoptive pride in it, even though that's not my home state.
I see.
But I love what you guys have done on this. Do you have any tour plans? I know you guys have your own other work that you do, but are you guys going to do any gigging as the band and hit different towns and such? Can I look for you in Knoxville, in other words?
Well, you never know. I mean, we plan to do something as soon as we can get, like I say, Vince Converse, our other guitar player, lives in Denver now.
Oh.
So the only gigs what me and Jim have done, the Texas Scratch gig, we just done one that with me and him, and we'd like to work on one where Jeff Simon could join us. And Nathaniel, the bass player, sadly, he passed away here not too long ago before the record came out, But we'd like to get at least us 3 guitar players to get it out and maybe do some, get around and play a little bit.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I'd love for you guys to come out this way. I mean, if you can only make it as far as Nashville, give me a heads up and I'll drive over to see you guys there.
Oh yeah, man. I love Tennessee, and, Texas and Tennessee have a long history together. If you know anything about Texas history, so many of the defenders at the Alamo in San Antonio were from Tennessee, Davy Crockett, and, so yeah, there's a long history of Tennessee and Texas. So,
well,
yeah.
Sam Houston enlisted into the Army in my hometown of Maryville, which is just over the hill from me. So,
what was the little club in Maryville?
Brackens.
Yes, played there a time or two.
Wow.
Yep.
And entertained all 14 people that were in the crowd. I haven't been there since the pandemic lifted. So
I see. Well, it was been before that for me, but my wife's people are all from Knoxville. And,
okay.
Up there quite a bit.
Yeah, I was born in Maryville, so my grandfather worked at the Alcoa aluminum plant there in Alcoa, so he buried within sight of it. But yeah, Brackens is still there. They're still doing stuff. I just haven't dropped in. I need to do that. I need to drop in soon and support them again. I used to belong to the Blues Society here, and I just haven't got back into it. But there's the Smoky Mountain Blues Society, and that whole group, books people in for their cruises and things like that. But man, you guys need to come out this way, and we can, bump elbows and shake hands, and I can listen to you guys play live. That would be wonderful. What other plans you guys have, either as Texas Scratch or on your own other projects What would you like to plug to people that would be watching this in the coming weeks?
Well, in the coming weeks, I have a couple of shows with Mike Zito at
Oh
the
yeah,
end of
good old Mike. Yeah.
playing at the Kessler Theater in Dallas on December 27th, and on New Year's Eve at Do-Si-Do in the Woodlands, Texas, just north of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a single I did with Tyler Bryant, if you
Oh,
know
yeah.
him.
Yep.
Tyler, great, and we've got that in the can, and we'll think we're going to do some more. And you know, a full touring schedule next year with George Thorogood and the Destroyers. So I've got plenty of irons in the fire.
How about you, buddy?
Oh, I've just got my usual phalanx of local gigs that I do around here, and just trying to keep all that. Every time I call somebody about it, it's like, okay, can you guys do this date? And they'll go, yeah, we agree to do the date. And then the next thing I know, the guy that's got the gig goes, can we change the date? You know, so I mean, right up till the last minute, I'm trying to get that going.
Somebody's name just popped in my mind out of Santa Fe. I was going to ask you if you guys knew him. Ryan McGarvey. Have you heard him?
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. I think a lot of them. He's a good
Yeah.
dude.
I know he's had some medical issues, but phenomenal player before that. And I think he's getting his chops back, but he's very, very good. And then Andy, buddy, are you familiar with Andy Wood here in the Knoxville area?
No, I don't think so.
Check him out. Joe Bonamassa had him on stage a couple years ago when Joe came through here, but Andy's kind of another Andy Timmons type or a Quentin Hope type, you know, so
There's some good ones up there. I can tell you that.
Yep, for sure. Well, guys, this is fun. My door is always open to you. If I can support you as Texas Scratch or on your individual projects, please let me know. You know how to get hold of me. I love your work, and I'm going to plug it as much as I can and hopefully help build your fan base a little bit more. So thank you so much for taking the time. Let me know if I can ever be of any help to you.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for having.
All right. You guys stay healthy and safe, and we'll see you down the road.
Okay, take care.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.